Good morning, the 27th of December. It's coming up to 12 o'clock, 2024. It's the day after St. Stephen's Day or Boxing Day in the UK. And it's great to see so many people from abroad. And if you could, some way, put the country you're living in on your comments, it'd be great because it's nice to know where these people are because you can't assess what a person writes if you don't know where they are. There's a big difference maybe from somebody maybe from Mongolia making a comment and somebody maybe from Cork. They could have a different perspective on the thing. Now, the big news is that according to opinion polls, Nigel Farage's Reform UK party has overtaken the Conservative Party. And as such, that is a big change in the polls. If that carried through to an election, they'd put the Tories into third place. Now, because of the English first past the post system, and Farage wants a system like ours, like a proportional representation, but because of that system, it could mean that the Labour would gain again. But Starmer is really having a bad time. He's a rip-roaring communist, a rip-roaring Stalinist, and they are beginning to cop him on. So the point I would make to Labour MPs, do you really want this fella? How did you manage to put him in there? Have you nobody else that could hold that job? And he will not go out without a fight. And those of you in either Labour or Conservative or Reform who thinks he'll be got rid of quick, I know there has been a big turnover of British Prime Ministers in recent years, but these crowd are different. That fellow will hang on to power irrespective of what happens. He'll try his best, so it'll be hard to get him out of there. And they'll be passing laws now that will exist long after they're gone. This is the way they're doing it. Whether Farage would eventually become the British Prime Minister, I don't know. A lot of people in England, just like in Ireland, are welded to the traditional parties, and they're welded to them and very, very tight, and to take a big, big push. This must be understood about the democratic process. People get a thing in their head, they settle in it, families settle in as Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael or Sinn Féin, and as to say the devil wouldn't prize it out of them, you wouldn't get it out of them. And you have to understand that a lot of people in Ireland made the big mistake in thinking that the result of the referendum was it the 7th of May or March, was it, on the family in the home anyway, was the voter turning against the government, and they stood for election hoping they'd get elected, and they didn't vote for them at all. There's a big difference in giving the government a bloody nose on the Constitution and on other things, and even the EU and your local TD. They don't want to put out the like of Brendan Smith and then meet some Fianna Fáil man after and say, did you vote for my man? And they don't like to tell the lie. Our churches were packed around the Christmas. They're truthful people and they won't want to do it. And they'll vote for the party they always did. And in Nobber and County Meath, they voted for the total communist young woman, Helen McEntee, a Trotsky out and out person. Unbelievable, out and out like that. So they did, and that's the way. So I'll let you go on that. It's very important to understand that. But there is moves afoot. I think all the same that in Europe and in England, you will see a move to the right. They're not as stuck to the traditional parties here. And when you see 35,000 people being sacked out of Volkswagen, that's bound to have an effect. And I think that will. And it's not that me or them are right wing. We're only termed right wing by the mainstream media like RTE and all of them, and we're only called right wing. We're just where we were 20 years ago. My politics, probably 25 years ago, was sort of settled with what was going on. People were Fianna Fáil, but it was kind of settled. It wasn't enough to make me rebel against it. But when they started doing the renewable energy and destroying the environment, and that's only one of the many things to do, people will move a bit away. And so Sinn Féin gathered up a lot of the protest votes from people that rejected Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and then they gathered them. But then, as you see, they're as bad as the next. So the big, huge problem for people wanting to change government is you don't know what the government's going to do when they got in. Who'd ever think that Sinn Féin, the Irish party of Michael Collins way back, would turn Turk and invite in the whole world? Who'd ever think they would? But that's what they're doing, and that's what they're going to continue to do. They crave this. You would never think that that's what they would do. And the more radical Islamic they are, the more they like it. But then Kiwi Ní Keelan was at that 30 years ago. So I wouldn't build much hope into that. Now, so will Farage's party, will it gain momentum? I don't know, but still, it's a big blow to them, because the British people, unless they're mad in the head, they'd have to vote for Reform UK. So the rest of them are head cases. Head cases. I mean, they're the same as Kamala Harris, really. They're the same as Helen McEntee. And that's the story. I don't know how that's going to work. We did elect Verona Murphy in Wexford, and that was good. And she's the Can Corner. We'll see how that'll go. That's the speaker. We'll see how that'll go. And so it's a battle against these rascals. What they're really doing is, it's like a family. We say there's 4 kids. There's 5 kids, 2 girls and 3 boys, or the other way about. And there's a father and a mother. And one of them is working. And there's enough to keep the thing going if it's wisely spent. And one of them, I'll not name either gender, is a spend mad. I often wonder the word spendthrift. Does that mean you don't spend or you don't? I don't know. But one of them is extravagant. And so they go out to shop for a few wee things at Christmas, and one of them sees this hugely expensive necklace, diamond necklace, and wants to buy it and mortgage the house and mortgage the children's future just to have this thing, which could be easily stolen, and the diamonds will drop out of it, and it has no value much except to sell it again, and maybe nobody wants it, maybe it's a dud. So one partner has to stand by and see the welfare of the family being destroyed by the other. And if that partner objects and rises and says, no, we're not buying that, the other partner will seize up and won't speak to him. This happens in houses all over the country. This is going on everywhere, where there's a difference in the priorities. Now, if you get 2 in the one family, man and woman, who are wasters, then there'll be poverty, and they'll be running out to Vincent de Paul, and the families constantly going to Vincent de Paul and other charitable organisations looking for handouts and everything. But where you get the wise partner and the other unwise partner, you have friction and marital breakup and everything. And a lot of it is over the spending of resources. There are people who will not prioritise putting a little bit of food on the table. You go down to McDonald's or Kentucky Fried, and you see people there, and they're morbidly obese, and they won't cook. They won't cook anything at home. They live out of McDonald's, and if there's children on the job, they're forced to live out of McDonald's too. And if they're smoking, their children are breathing that smoke in the house, and that's not good for them either. So this is happening. This is happening. And there are Irish people like that would just would too lazy and too ignorant to go even and boil an egg. That's the situation. So that's the mess you have. And having said that, isn't it amazing that we got as far as we did, that we did build a republic after independence, and we did survive, and we did get on, and people hung together fairly good. Isn't it amazing that we managed that in Ireland, and we can't really manage it today, and when we have all the needs and seeds and all the great objects and AI and everything and mobile phones, we're not even able to do it well. We'd have built a children's hospital 60 years ago. We can't build it today. Okay, we see you back. Comment underneath. Bye-bye. Thank you.